seem to have actually joined in at a bit of an interesting time here. They actually started the knife round, but weren't actually ready to start, so a bit of an interesting way to actually get things going, but Mirage Esports nonetheless will actually win the knife round. But let's not put the cart before the horse here. Let's introduce both these teams. First off, let me introduce myself. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ito, and today I'm here to bring you a lovely match of Winners League Season 4, the North American Main Division. And this is between, obviously, as previously mentioned, Mirage and tNt. Now, these teams, well, I'm pretty familiar with Mirage, but tNt is a little bit more of a question mark to me, so I went ahead and looked on their ESEA roster to know what to expect, and they're currently flawless in the ESEA Open season, so that's always a nice little sign. Also, I would like to mention real quick that I actually played LANs with Horeg in the past. He's a local to my area, so he's pretty much the only player that I'm actually aware of on the side of tNt. As for Mirage, though, as I mentioned, I am more comfortable with them. Swamp is a little bit more of a question mark with me, but I'm friends with, I like to say, at least friends, with a decent amount of players on the roster. So, I mean, I'm interested to see how Mirage will actually face up against tNt, considering they are definitely both question marks, and maybe they'll have to adjust their play, maybe they'll have to actually switch something up here. But as we're heading into the pistol round here, we can talk about these ifs as much as we want, but we'll actually have to see it in action for the most part. And tNt have already grinded things down to a halt after their beginning spam into apartments. As JJ is peeking down mid, doesn't want to take a fight, so he will back off just as quickly. Crackshot has his teammates back. Over towards the arch side, though, just going to be Jiggle peeking it, though. Again, not looking to give away his life. He does spot a shoulder or two here, but he's just perfectly in danger of getting overwhelmed. Luckily, JJ is there to stem the wound a little bit by giving up actually just a couple of kills into the CT's grasp, but a 3 versus 2, I'm not sure how these solo efforts worked out so well. I mean, JJ single-handedly is putting this round into his team's favor. He's found 3 now, and only PandaSex is left to find. He has a interesting name, that's for sure. But let's see if he can get an interesting play together. Kind of wish we had a replay system set up from other POVs, because I would love to see how JJ was able to actually find those duels over at mid. I mean, I thought things were going to go terribly bad after Crackshot gave up his life early on, and well, luckily JJ's reign of terror has been taken over once and for all, and well, it looks like actually PandaSex might have pulled off something a little bit crazy. I wasn't quite ready to raise my voice at that. I thought he was dead in the water as soon as Pine wide swung that, but unfortunately for him, he gets away with a little bit more than I think Mirage would have wanted to, but nonetheless, the CTs pick up the round, and tNt are probably going to be forced onto a full save here. Buying up a lot of Eagles, so they are going to be going for that third round buy as is expected, and going for their standard default to start things off here. A little bit of spam in towards a window and towards long hauls is what they did on the pistol, and surprised to see that not actioned yet again. Just trying to see if they can get anything early on here, any freebies that Mirage would give to them, but having had the chance to listen to Mirage's comms, they do like to play rather disciplined, especially against ecos, so well, as soon as I say that, Crackshot gives up his life. That crosshair looked a bit too low. I'm surprised he got the shot off, but that is huge news too. Corroded Beef is also in a very awkward position as well. Gets overwhelmed by the Deagles that I mentioned previously. Now Pine will have to hold down the site all by her lonesome, but she has absolutely zero shot of doing it. Swamp, meanwhile, as a late rotate from B, gets caught out by Elay, and this round has just completely flipped on its head, and Mirage are none the wiser to all the antics that tNt are trying to pull off. That just went downhill after Crackshot unfortunately died, trying to shoulder peek over towards mid. I mean, fair play to, I believe it was Nostra, for hitting that shot. I think it was either Nostra, it might have been Shastri. Not 100% sure. Either way, it was a great shot by them, and it basically, again, that kind of broke the dam. It allowed the side of tNt to really just flurry up various parts of the maps here, and I mean, I think it was nothing more than just really strong positioning and getting some of those favorable duels after they're basically given one shot. They did not falter. JJ has to be content saving that UMP here, but really that's going to be the only thing that Mirage have going for them in this round. Number 3 is underway, and pretty much pistols are going to be the only thing adorning the side of Mirage at the moment. And this probably isn't going to be a recreation of what tNt just pulled off here. It's kind of hard to assume that. I mean, it did kind of seem like a miracle that the T's just stumbled across, but surely maybe they can get this done with guns. There's an AWP actually brought into Horeg's hands at the moment. Horeg actually usually an opper, so I'm glad to see him on his role that I've seen him at these local lands. I'm considering, or I'm a bit interested to see if the inclusion of some of these ops changes up how things play out. Pine will try to, meanwhile, pick up a kill with a pistol, but she's only able to find one. Roted Beef looking for a second, but as he's trying to pick up the AK, unfortunately loses his life. For the most part, though, tNt are getting pretty favorable trades, although JJ is able to extend in towards Banana to find another one. That basically is just going to give away that Mirage are stacked up over towards B, and tNt can take the A site free of charge. Post plants will begin, but this is going to be nothing more than a pretty lukewarm retake from the CT side. Going to be going for it quickly, though. They want to close the distance if they still possibly can. Only getting one more kill for their troubles. Actually, a lot better than I figured Mirage would have actually pulled off. They're able to get 3 guns out of the hands of tNt and make their economy a little bit more awkward, but it's still no matter. They're going to have guns without pretty much any hesitation. Even if they lose this one here, I think they'll still have enough for another full buy, and it's not really looking likely that they go down that path. I mean, up against pistols again, Mirage are forced onto that double eco. This is probably just going to be even more one-sided than that last round was. This time 3 players are stacked up over towards B. Trying to perhaps counter that early banana aggression that tNt were pulling off. But no give so far. Mirage have really shined in retaking banana later on in the rounds. It's how it actually got a decent amount of success in that last eco round here. They're giving it up yet again. tNt are being careful not exactly to push up all too much yet. Mirage have actually rotated 1 player over, leaving Zwamp all by his lonesome at the A-bomb site, and obviously having to 1v5 with only a USP in your hand, that's basically an impossible task. So he's just going to try to do some damage mitigation if he so possibly can, but again, it's just not looking very likely. tNt can take this wherever they wish here. The world is in the palm of their hands, and right now they're just looking for a canvas to spread this paint, spread this blood on, really. Because there's about to be absolute bloodshed over at the B-bomb site here, but perhaps not from the team that you would expect. JJ finds one, crack shot with another, and although Horeg will find a collateral, surprisingly, that changes up the pace almost entirely. tNt, again, can still take this wherever they wish here. Seem to be wanting to finish over towards A here. The right idea to it. They've realized how many players were stacked up over towards B. They can just get the bomb down here and basically make this round theirs. Swamp will try to be on the quick rotate. Yo, no problem, Winners Lake. Holy heck. Glad to help out. I casted a bit of your league for Season 3, so I'm always happy to try to get included in on the action. For the main division, of course, this time around here, and obviously both of them are still looking for their slot, but tNt are making a pretty convincing show for themselves so far. I mean, they're looking really good on this T half. At least for the early game, they have managed to at least dominate in that sort of fashion. Pawns will come through. Maybe buying a little bit of time for Mirage to suppose how they change up their setup early on here. The big cracks that I've noticed, at least from the third-party spectator side, is that, I mean, Mirage have had decent things going for them. I feel like their setups aren't all too bad here. It's just unfortunate that Crackshot has been picked off early on over towards Arch side. I mean, theoretically, that's something that they could fix. I don't think that's a big thing that's losing them rounds. I mean, there's some other scenarios which maybe they shouldn't have exactly lost that they have. But the game is still young. I mean, we're only 5 rounds into this thing now, and the only round that came the way of Mirage was that pistol, if I'm correct. 3 in a row otherwise, and the buy has been pretty shaky for Mirage, but that headline has changed finally. 3 M4s and 2 FAMASas in play for Mirage means that they're going to try to stand their ground against tNt again for round number 5 here. Up against an AWP of Horeg, who was able to cause significant damage in the last round. Perhaps not going to be as easy of a task as they would hope, but Maybe they're going to be up for the challenge here. They're going to need it. Going to need a convincing CT half, especially considering Mirage play a decent amount of Inferno. They might be confusing, but their play certainly is not. Aggro smoke over towards Banana and double nades down as well for good measure. Pine aggressing in actually towards long hauls, is able to find one completely strings free. No strings attached. Pine now sends out for another here, and there's still some more strings attached. Why is Horeg not turning around? Pine is going absolutely nuclear. She finds a 3K and searching for number 4 with the pistol, and as Nostra comes down from heaven, he will take down the murderer. Pine, despite that triple kill, her team's not able to convert the round, and back onto pistols they go. That is just worst case scenario right there. That being said, also great recovery from tNt. I mean, considering Pine found out that first kill, and I think actually things swung into a 3 versus 5 relatively early on, they were able to strike very convincingly, pushing up towards Arch and finding not only that trade kill, but also the rotates coming in from B. I mean, it was huge news, and Mirage, again, as they're going to be stuck on pistols, this is going to be yet another chance for tNt to extend their lead, probably to 5 or more. Obviously not looking very good for Mirage at the moment here, but things could be worse. Having talked with Pine, they constantly want to improve on their CT side, and they realize that might have problems. But at the moment, I mean, tNt have been having some fantastic mid-round calls, at least from that first gun round. Astralis utility out. Over towards Banana here, and with JJ and Zwamp right behind it. They're going to try to retake Banana control slowly, but a push is actually happening over towards A, towards brackets, I should say here. And 3 players, 3 pistol wielders at the ready. Means that Mirage will at least have a decent chance at shutting out any pushes from the porch side. Possibly not stopping all of them here, but at least putting a dent into the economy. tNt, meanwhile, we'll just go ahead and rotate over to B. I mean, they have a real good read on how Mirage are playing this so far, and pretty much all Mirage can do is just watch at the moment. That being said, Mirage are actually coming out on top of some of these duels. They get a 2-for-2 trade, making things a little bit more awkward for tNt as they desperately try to push into the site here. They need to start getting that bomb down soon, but that'll just buy a little bit more time for Mirage to actually start making some sort of retake possibility happen. 2 players now occupy the church area here. They're looking to pray that they can get away with this round here. It would be an absolute feat of heroism, really, to actually get away with it. And it's starting to become absolutely impossible. Pine going down over towards mid. Crack shot the first victim over towards church, and the second surely to be corroded beef, excuse me, at this rate. Corroded, pretty much all he can hope for at this point is maybe to pick up a gun, get away with it if he so possibly can, but just do a little bit of damage onto some of these T's. Not even given the opportunity, tNt bring it to 5. A round that they were expected to convert, sure. Mirage tried to throw a spanner in the works, but only were able to do so much damage at the end of the day. We're starting to see the AWP brought out finally from the CT side, so there's that kind of adjustment that I was expecting to see. Crackshot is one hell of an opper here, but I mean, Horeg has been going uncontested for the most part here. When he starts meeting some contention, maybe things will go a little bit more awry for the side of tNt. Crackshot, unfortunately, has to give up his position over towards brackets, so it will go the way dominantly of tNt. And in fact, they're actually extending it for more. They're already pushing up over towards Moda and onto the site itself. This pace is absolutely blistering. It's so damn fast. Pine luckily will be able to recover. Pushing into apartments, actually finds 2 kills. Makes this round a little bit more possible for Mirage, but the push is already happening, and tNt are trying to get this bomb down. It's so awkward for them now. They're pincered out onto the site. Mirage just need to try to play this as patient as they possibly can. tNt need to buy time, but they're running out of utility to actually make this happen. They need to start hitting some of their shots soon, because especially with Mirage finally leading the cavalry on their way to the fight here, Pine is just absolutely at the ready. She's found 3 kills so far. Swap with another, and Shastri needs to hold down the line and make it an ace most possibly. He's just about found 4, and Swamp will close it out. A 3K for Pine and a 2K for Swamp. An absolutely chaotic round from start to finish. But Mirage eventually will come out on top as the smoke settles. The CTs become victors. Insanely chaotic there. Incredible response from Pine, though, I have to say. Pushing into apartments was like one of the few things that she could have done there, and she did it. I mean, like, it was a gamble, and obviously Zwamp was there to actually clean up some of the fallen pieces on the floor, but it was really off of that first two kills, those conversion, those trades, whatever you want to call them, over towards apartments that kind of laid the foundation for that retake being possible for Mirage. Also, really great patience by them to hold off for as long as they did. Although they didn't quite get that tactical pause that they wanted in, at least this pace is going a little bit slower than what tNt were pulling off last time around. They're no longer just bum rushing it up over towards mid. Crackshot can assume his rightful throne over towards mid. And now Zwamp has also joined the party with a sniper. Unfortunately, though, he will be quickly dethroned and taken out of the picture entirely. Still, JJ holds the line, though, over towards CT. Gets a great shot for free. Actually tries to spray through for another and nearly converts it on through onto Panda Sex. Fantastic name. I still can't get over that one. But nonetheless, we will compose ourselves as Mirage look to do the same here and hold off the inevitable from tNt here. 4-4 at the moment. Mirage either have to gamble with a 3-1 stack or just keep it 2-2 and hope that they can win their fights. Pine, unfortunately, is caught off guard while trying to boost up on top of the hay barrel, meaning that Corroded Beef, although he's able to get the trade, still has so much to deal with here. Horrig closes the distance with the P250 and gets the double dink onto Corroded Beef. Exactly the kill that they needed to basically snuff out any chance of a rotation, or a retake, I should say, excuse me. Nonetheless, though, Mirage, they want to go for this here. Crackshot actually has an opportunity of a lifetime to maybe wallbang over towards that close left box, but unfortunately, maybe didn't hear the scope, maybe something else entirely. Either way, it's a recipe for disaster. tNt surely on the board for number 6 at the moment. Shastri will make it so. And a triple kill for him. Now would be a good time for Mirage to call their pause that they couldn't get last time around. It seems that they've given up on the dream of it. Maybe we're just using it to compose themselves, maybe something else, but Mirage again put onto pistols. It is a very dire strait for them. Look to play slow. They haven't quite given up on the opportunity yet, just by the way they're playing. It seems that it feels like they're going for more than actual just damage. Pine has been a menace in the apartments at the moment here, and this time she has a buddy to go ahead and help her out. Corroded Beef at the ready, but doesn't even need to do anything. No bullets fired. Pine will find the kill, almost uncontested. She takes the tag up, but still alive and kicking. Great news and a great start for Mirage, but there's still a long, long way to go. There's a big mountain that they need to climb, but Pine is slowly scaling it. She finds another plus upgrades to an AK-47. That means that she could theoretically just pass this off to someone who's a little bit healthier. Now Corroded Beef goes in for a dive, but soon he'll realize that all the players, the remaining players in the server for tNt, that is, have actually wiggled their way over towards B. Horrig will find the first of possibly many kills for tNt as he's again trying to push in. And although there are 2 players at the ready over towards B with a third one on the way, being able to do something is a different question entirely. Zwamp and Crackshot both combined, though, and catch me off guard. They push before the smokes go down, and tNt are caught off guard nearly as much as I am. Striking at the perfect time, Mirage get away with theft as they seal that round away. And my lord, they got away with more than that. They got away with murder. Won it by elimination as well, and they weren't even able to get up towards the site. Again, that was another situation where it feels like Pine started things off and Zwamp closed it out. They have been incredible together, even at opposite sides of the map, but also fair play to Crackshot as well, peeking from CT, put himself in an incredible position, to get traded off. So great news for them. Quick arch play again comes out, this time from tNt, and with pistols in their hands for once here, JJ tries to extend for another. I barely have time to breathe before the pushes already start coming in. 4-on-4 here. tNt have been grinded to a halt, at least a little bit more here, and this should actually buy a little bit of time and space for the CTs to strike back with a couple of kills of their own. Pine is staying alive, but not for much longer. And there's this like brief burst of chaos, but then we slow down just a little bit here, compose ourselves, and get right back on track. Horrig will eventually be left alone against 2 members here, and both members of Mirage tallied up next to each other here. There wasn't much that he could do other than just hope that he could get some insane plays done with the AK, but he's caught with his pants down. the bomb gets put down, and tNt will be able to buy up here. So no double eco for them. Mirage, I have to say, despite being stuck on some of these eco scenarios for a lot of the rounds of play so far, they have done a decent job at keeping it competitive. It's 4-6, and although this is looking very, very good for tNt so far, just because of how much they have accomplished on their T side here, it's not impossible for Mirage to maybe make this a little bit more convincing. Molly's out towards mid. It seems that Bracket's aggression seems to be tNt's bread and butter. This time, though, Mirage are getting a little bit more used to it. You see Pine is able to find Extend for a kill early over towards Apartments, back up into a safe position. Corroded Beef is able to contest for another, and Pine is actually still continuing. She finds another one before she eventually falls, but that just buys time for Corroded Beef to come in and swing up another kill. I mean, the trades are just unbelievable from Mirage at the moment here. They always have each other's backs, it seems, and I think I'm starting to really understand the lessons that Pine has been trying to teach me. Her positioning has been absolutely fire this game, has held down Apartments, and I mean, it's stuff like that that makes it so difficult to play against. tNt have done a really decent job at it, but I'm not sure if they want to keep going for some of that aggression up towards the arch side, because they've started to get a little bit more used to it, Mirage. That Molotov out from Corroded Beef plus the shots behind it, I mean, that's also an incredible play by him. I mean, the A bomb site, rather, as a whole, has been ironclad in recent history. But a bit of a switch up yet again from tNt. This time, they're going to try to completely swing the right way up towards Porch. Corroded Beef finds some really strong information. Pine just has to peel for as long as she possibly can, while tNt inevitably start pushing in. JJ finds the first kill. Again, there's just barely any downtime between fights, it feels like here. Pine swings out off the back of a nice little flash, but that flash doesn't even really do the majority of the damage here. 2 more kills go the way of Mirage, and it's another eco round down the drain from tNt. They didn't quite fully invest into it as I would have expected, and so that double eco does indeed actually come into play. Opting for a little bit more utility and probably just opting for an AWP into the hands of Horeg. Probably the most realistic scenario of it. Nostra able to find one onto the player in Cubby, but that just kind of telegraphs his position more than anything. Zwamp won't be able to complete his frag movie, but Corroded Beef sure as hell will. A double in the round. And again, it's the A player showing up in the kill feed the most, it feels like. At the moment here. Pine is 15-9. That is absolutely absurd to me. Crackshot has often had to play rotator role here. But picking up the op here, he keeps on trying to aggress down Banana here. Smoking out the Molotov that inevitably comes through from tNt. This time finds nothing here. Look at this. You see the rotations already starting to come through from Mirage Esports here. Talk about a response. This time, though, tNt are a little bit more at the ready. Pine finds a double. Sprays down 2 over towards mid. Eventually has to give up that brackets control, but again, buying a little bit of time, a little bit of space for JJ and Co to start coming on through. Stomping on into the A bomb site here. JJ unfortunately gets taken down, and Swamp is unable to trade it. And again, look at this. Poor Crackshot is just left on rotator duty, and in a 1 versus 3 with an AWP, there's basically nil that he can do. This has been absurd. I mean, these have been some honestly incredibly quick takes from tNt. I mean, staying true to their name, they explode onto sites, and you know, you weren't seeing some really slow rounds being played out from tNt a lot of the time. We saw it towards the beginning of this half, sure, but again, in recent history, it's been much slower than, or much faster than I feel like it has been for most of the games that I've watched. Crackshot goes for the peek at mid here, but Horeg is quickly at the ready. No flash over towards mid, so that might have been a cue for Crackshot to peek down. Maybe thought it was coast clear, but unfortunately no. Bit of spam down mid. Pine actually flashes herself through. Okay, never mind. I thought she was actually going to extend for that. Kill goes through actually the way of JJ here, and Pine, spotting player in Apartments, tries to back up, but there's another one at the ready. Shastri gets an incredibly vital kill for tNt, and in fact doubles up, finds another. The round and the site basically both belong to tNt at the moment here, as basically all that Mirage can do at the moment is just try to stem the wound, get a couple of more kills, or else they might just go to the grave empty-handed. kind of glad Swamp didn't push out there. He was in a very uncomfortable position. Shastri would have completely had him off guard. tNt, I mean, with that, though, the round is basically conceded, as Mirage basically have to do in this situation here. And as we're going into number 15, tNt have found the lion's share of rounds on the T side, so they are looking incredibly comfortable. Sure, there's been a couple of hiccups, and, you know, over towards the A site, Mirage seemed to have their number for a little while, but they're right back into it. Confidently taking A, and, I mean, obviously that round seemed to go their way very early on since they were able to find that first pick onto Crackshot, but from there, I mean, they kind of played it well. Not too much to write home about. I mean, a 4 versus 5 just kind of seems like the natural conversion for tNt to do. This is perhaps a little bit more of an interesting story, though. Last round of the half here, Mirage have a pretty broken bye. An AWP is brought into the hands of Zwamp. Zwamp on the AWP. He's looking for a kill aggro over towards alt mid here. What an absolutely insane angle for Shastri to jiggle peek there. He even finds a second one as well. This man is on fire at the moment, 18 and 9. I don't feel like I've been praising him nearly enough, but he's been an absolute menace over towards apartments, especially in this round. Pine and JJ, last two left standing for Mirage, but unfortunately Pine was lagging and couldn't quite convert. Yeah. Pine says server is scuffed. I could even see that on her side. That's the magic of Faceit servers. Just one of the unfortunate parts of this reality that we are in, but what can you do? 9-6 at the half, and Mirage Esports on the back foot. Two statements that go hand in hand, but perhaps not exactly the combo that you are looking for here. Mirage, I want to see how they try to bounce back on the T side here. I looked at a couple of the match histories from Mirage Esports before heading into this. In particular, one Mirage game that Pine showed me where they won 16-14 against, I can't exactly remember the team name, but that was in Maine. And they actually mounted a pretty okay comeback on the T side of things. Pine in particular was a masterclass of holding down apartments. Again, she was the one showing me that POV, so perhaps I'm a little bit biased in that regard, but JJ also held it down to an extreme regard. What I'm really trying to say here is, especially if they win the pistol, there's still life yet for Mirage. That being said, though, I mean, tNt are dangerously close from being able to chomp down on the CT or on the side of Mirage at the moment here. I mean, look at this. 4 players at the ready over towards A. Brackets control is basically theirs. I mean, seriously, pretty much the only thing that they could try to pull off right now is the Halls pop or the Balls pop, as Pine likes to call it here, and they're popping out actually over towards Boiler, and that's that brackets control that I was talking about. 4 players stacked up over towards A. Sure, they get the bomb down, Mirage Esports here, but a retake of this proportion just seems so unlikely in such a tall order. 2 versus 3 is definitely possible, and on a pistol round of all rounds, they could pull it off here, but JJ has to be awfully careful about where he peeks his head. Same story with Crackshot here. Crackshot gets cracked almost immediately, and JJ, all he can do is just watch as his comrade falls. He gets 1 kill on his way to the grave, but that's it. Double digits for tNt, and they're looking magical at the moment. Shastri has also been incredibly lethal. Again, I don't feel like I've given that name nearly enough credit, but thinking back to how they're playing on the last half, it was absurd. I mean, some of the stuff that he was getting away with and just expecting out of Mirage was unheard of, and it won them some rounds straight up. I mean, that apartments control that belonged to Pine for so much of it, expected the aggression, and was able to catch not 1 but 2 players off guard. So it's just great conversions from them. tNt ever closer to that finish line now. Won't be going down without a fight, though, will be Mirage, as they actually find 2 kills right off the bat to start things off. Corroded Beef and JJ both low. And again, I barely have any time to breathe as the round is already getting fully underway. Crackshot tries to entry in over towards B here. Caught off guard by Pandasex. She's actually able to double up, find another. Back out over towards double oranges. And now that buys time for the CT rotation to come in. A 3 versus 2 is still a very accomplishable feat for tNt, especially when the players are as low as they are. Dunk nade comes through. JJ is unfortunately the victim to it. And now Zwamp really has a lot to shoulder at the moment. There's There's a boost up on top of flower pots here. I think Zwamp heard that. Knows that a bullet went out over towards banana. So Crow Beef, he just needs to hold this line for as long as he possibly can. But Nostra is holding it. And Wise to the angle here. Meanwhile, Horeg will try to pester a little bit with a FAMASA he has in hand and eventually win the gunfight. It's another round the way of tNt, and that was a full investment for Mirage. Oh, Lord, that is one of the worst case scenarios for Mirage. That was a 5 versus 3 that they weren't able to convert into a win, and it's stolen away by tNt. Unfortunate way to lose a round for sure. I mean, again, not the end of the line just yet for Mirage, but that was something that they really, really could have done for. Stuck onto pistols for this, so buy on round number 4 is going to be their best bet at this point here. Be going for something a little bit quicker, perhaps an arch wrap through. There's a bit of spam from the player over towards the porch side, but for the most part here, Pandasex will be the only one at the ready. Finds actually 2, and then Shastri is again at the ready here. He's been an absolute monster in the service so far, and let's see if he can close this out with style. Indeed, he is going to be able to. An expected conversion. Means that Mirage will be able to buy up here. Taking 2 guns on their way out in round number 18. Like to do a little bit more damage, as you might imagine, and the buy is going to be about equal on both sides of the equation. If tNt were to win this one, Mirage would basically find themselves in probably one of the most scary situations you can be in Counter-Strike. What the hell is that angle peek from Elay? I can't believe he expected Pine to be there. Luckily, JJ is trying to go ahead and do a little bit of wild antics of his own. Picks up a 2K and responds by avenging his teammate, but he's not ready for the inevitable third over towards B, because of course that's what they do. tNt are just, I mean, Shastri is absolutely insane right now. He's 23-10 and just always seems to have the upper edge. What Mirage are trying to pull off here. Unfortunately, there are some victims, but at least JJ found 2 on his way out. They're starting to push up from Mirage onto that A bomb site as they're just trying to desperately get this bomb down. They're mauling out over towards pit here. That means that Nostra has actually given away his position, but they're not ready for the second player sitting on site. Horeg is able to find 1. Zwamp tries to turn around to spray him down after taking down the player in pit, but it's a 3K for him. I mean, tNt, they're just really catching Mirage off guard right now. Because it feels like that's one of those areas that should have been checked from Mirage, you know? You know, when they're going up A, obviously they're scared of pit here, but, you know, they, I guess, were afraid to divert attention over to the site itself, but a crossfire just kind of seems likely at that point. I know, it's rich as hell coming in from the 1-5 open player here, but at least they're going ahead and responding really well to it. Mirage, something a lot quicker, something a lot more B-sided, will actually immediately convert into a bomb plant. And this is exactly what I'm talking about too. There's barely any downtime. I mean, this is just absurd. The round had barely started and they already had pushed up over towards banana. Now in really aggressive spots, suddenly it's kind of a, you know, it's been flipped on its head. tNt now have to save their guns, something that they really haven't had to do at all this entire game. Mirage put themselves on 7. A very convincing round at that here. They're on the verge of making it a flawless one at that. Great stuff by Mirage. You know, it's a bit of an anti-strat what they just pulled off there. They realized how they're starting to play banana and, you know, just decide to go ahead and take things a little bit quicker. Although they sustain incredibly heavy damage at the end of the day, it's that big number at the top that really seems to matter to Mirage, you know? They're chasing for a little bit more guns, trying to get a little bit more damage done, and, you know, tNt, they didn't falter. They held their ground decent amount here, but still the buy sucks from tNt. Look at this. I mean, 2 USPs, a P250. This should be going the way of Mirage. I have to be careful not to speak too early, though, because you never know what can happen. I basically counted Mirage out of that last round, and yet they're the ones who pulled it off and could have went flawless if they decided not to push, which, I mean, obviously that was a more wise move that they pushed and try to find more guns, but when it comes to sheer probability, it's something I didn't quite expect. 7-13, map control all around the block. Bomb not quite retrieved yet. Means that tNt are just going to still hold their ground here. Actually have 4 players over towards A, and I'm wondering if Mirage have any semblance of an idea of what they just might be walking into if they continue to aggress over towards brackets. PandaSex is aggressing. No one's watching for it here, and PandaSex is able to find one. It's traded out by Crackshot, but that's a huge kill for tNt to get. They could do with all the kills that they can get, really. I mean, they only have one more big gun, and that's in Nostra's hands here. He's actually looking out over towards apartments. What is going on at the moment? Crackshot is unfortunately caught off guard, and Nostra continues to get one more. Traded out yet again here. Now pushing out onto the site will be Pine and JJ. They will clear out all the blind spots. And eventually that conversion does come through. There's a couple of what looks like strange moments, I'll be completely honest. But again, it's rich as hell for me to say that when I'm a 1 in 5 open player, so who am I to judge? 8-13, surely on the cards at the moment here, as Pine will eventually convert that kill through. Both of them, or both JJ and Pine, picking up a double apiece, and Crackshot also getting included on the action. Unfortunately, Crackshot hasn't exactly had the best performance so far in this game here, but he's also met a lot of unlucky fortune. I mean, I think that last round in particular kind of shows off exactly what I mean. He was not ready for that player to just come out of pit and watch over towards Moto. You could see he was like visibly surprised, like, there's a guy there? It just happens. Oh god, that was a terrible voice crack. It just happens. Let's just go ahead and put it that way. 8-13. Aggro banana control from Mirage. I'm liking a bit of a switch up here. You see that tNt have basically given up a lot of banana control almost every single round. This is no exception, of course, as they're only on pistols, but it's been something that Mirage have been able to exploit a little bit more, and well, I'm not going to say it's led to a comeback. It's at least led to a little bit of life rejuvenated for Mirage. Molly out over towards pit here. That's just going to clear out that area, but I'm guessing by that molly going out that they're either expecting someone on top of porch as well, or that they're just going to try to pull off a fake and actually bring it out over towards B. What the hell was that spam through CT from PandaSex? That is unbelievable. Well, all that aside, the kills will come through, and, you know, eventually the bomb planted. Really, there's not too much that was eventful about that round. You saw Mirage get decent enough map control here. They recognized that they had some presence shown over towards the A side of the map, excuse me, and then just tried to bring it to the other part of the map. This is another situation where, I mean, Crackshot just might get unlucky. Like, look at this. Who's going to be expecting Horrig from behind? I can like sense the frustration radiating from Crackshot's monitor at the moment. Like, why are you there, Horrig? But you know, at least he gets a kill on his way to the grave. Mirage Esports go up to 9. They're closing this gap ever more. So close to double digits now, and tNt will be able to pose a lot more of a threat to blockade them from actually getting to that score line. However, execution is a very different beast. Horrig, who at times was able to just basically roam free, has been quiet in these past couple. But maybe with an op again brought into his hands, he can be a little bit more vocal. Indeed, he is. Corroded Beef and Pine, both the first victims of this round, but far from the last of it as well. Add another couple of CTs to that, and suddenly you have a round on your hands. It's a 2 versus 3. But Shastri is going to be out the ready. It's actually PandaSex, excuse me. Okay, never mind. Swamp, 1 versus 3 here. Actually finds a first, sometimes finds a second. What is going on anymore? The auto director fooled me, so I decided to put matters into my own hands, but I'm still caught off guard how Zwampa is able to find a double. A 1 versus 3 like this would just be absolutely soul-crushing for tNt, and Zwamp, oh, look at this. He's even ready for Shastri to start pushing out over towards apartments as well. Oh, but he can't look away for too long now. He knows the angle. Don't look away. Oh, my lord, he looked away. No. Oh, my lord. Oh, my god. Oh my, Swamp, no, please, you have 1 bullet! Oh my lord, Shastri, he's just gonna go ahead and push W into him. No! So close, yet so far. That round was just absolutely this would be a good time for Mirage to call a pause. Again, sorry about the camera fumbles there. I don't know why I went to someone literally on the other side of the map, but that's just my luck, and I tried putting it into my own hands to fix it, and I ended up only making things worse. So, it's unlucky. Back into the game, though, in question. Mirage Esports, fortunately dropping that one here, are now going to have to deal with the brutality of tNt for this one here. Shawstreet pushing down over towards Banana immediately will find a kill onto one. And Corroded Beef will be the next victim just as quickly. Only it's to a Desert Eagle of all guns. I don't know why he needed to use the Desert Eagle. That just kind of feels like BM at this point. Crackshot is able to respond with one. But Panda Sexus does the exact same thing again to Crackshot. Shot through smoke again. Just talk about unfortunate game. I mean, poor little Crackshot has just been on the receiving end of some absurdities. Mirage will try to gather themselves and recoup for a push over towards port side here. Swam spots one here, tries to convert the kill, but isn't ready for the peek from Moto. Falling apart at the seams seems to be Mirage at the moment, as they now need to get 6 rounds in a row just to bring things to OT, and then from there it's still an immense uphill battle, an uphill climb, excuse me. Have to battle tooth and nail for this one. But tNt, I mean, they're on the verge of pulling off this, dare I say, upset? I mean, I don't know. Maybe a couple of question marks. Pine pushing out over towards Banana, finds the first entry onto here, and I mean, while they just try to take Banana control again, it falls flat on its face. Nostro is at the ready as well, and it's suddenly Corroded Beef versus 4 players, but he's snuffed out immediately. tNt take that one 16-9. Who'd have thought? It's far from over for the side of Mirage Esports here, but perhaps a bit of a surprising result. I mean, tNt came out swinging there. They had some absolutely absurd moments and really just got away with way more than I feel like they're supposed to. Mirage obviously going to get stunned a little bit here, but again, it's far from the end of the world for them. Commiserations to the side of Mirage, but also I'm happy to see my boy Horrig start showing up, because gonna use to land with that guy. He was always pretty nuts. That is gonna do it for me, at least for a little while, though. I will be back in about half an hour with some ESEA Advanced. It's actually gonna be a Cobalt United versus Spring Roll game, so don't want to miss that one here. If you still like CS action, I'll go ahead and try to fulfill that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon. Later.